Dear Dhamma friends, can you all hear? Still can? Okay. Dear Dhamma friends, I welcome all of you to Kalalgoda English Medium Retreat. So we are going to begin the question and answer session. And Ms. Dilhara informed me that there are several newcomers to this retreat. So let me little explain about the sort of the nature of this retreat. So we are giving prominence to develop mindfulness. As you all know, mindfulness is something that we are trying to live in the present moment and trying to be at the beginning very much with your body, where you are basically unmindful. Our mind typically lingering in the past or in the future. So right now we are trying our best to be in the present moment. Because more and more we live in the past, our mind get disturbed and we are lost in the past memories. So basically we are very much like dead because we are enjoying something past. But on the other hand, when the mind is in the future, or rather when we are dreaming about the future, we are not really enjoying the present moment and we basically get lost in our dreams. So we are not really present. So in the mindfulness practice, it is helpful for us to come back to the present moment and to enjoy it to the fullest. Not actually for the enjoyment we are doing this, but first we need to, in a way, need to understand what is happening in the present moment. We have to come back to the present moment, fully live in the present moment, fully present, and then only we can go deeper. So coming back to the present moment becomes some sort of a prerequisite for this practice. So that is what we are trying to do at the very beginning. So for that we are using certain exercises, we can say. So walking meditation is something like that. We are trying our best to maintain our attention throughout the body, particularly about the sensations happening at our soles. Say for example left sole and maybe the right sole. So likewise we are trying to maintain our attention on the legs. And similarly in sitting, we are trying to maintain our attention in the breath. That is one key method Buddha has recommended, and even nowadays widely used even in the West, where to come back yourself to the present moment, bring your attention to the present moment. And in parallel we can keep our attention in the rising and falling of the abdomen. That is another technique widely being used in Burma especially, and introduced by Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw and now widely being used throughout the world. So these are little techniques helping us to bring our attention to the present moment. So using these different techniques, we are gathering our attention and focusing our attention to the present moment. Otherwise our mind easily drifted to the past or to the future. So it is very much like an anchoring position where the mind get used to distract to various other places or various other thoughts and to other people. But now we are coming to ourselves, to this place and to this moment. So we are trying hard to improve that skill, and once improved, then you will understand, okay, now I am living, now I am sitting, now I am standing, now I am lying down. So likewise you get sort of an awareness which is very rich. And it more and more you develop it, you will feel that I am living now. I am as a kind of a new person now. So your perspective about the world really change. And deeper we develop wisdom based on this skill, and that is the vipassana practice. So and actually you can't get on to vipassana practice immediately. You need to develop certain skills to come to that stage. So these little exercises or these little techniques, little methods help us to develop those prerequisites. Once we are having these skills, then we can further use these skills to develop more and more wisdom. So having said that, so we will get into the question and answers of this technique.
Can you all hear me?
Can you all hear? Can't? So we'll proceed and see. They'll do the tuning.
With respect, Venerable Bhante. Primary object, breath meditation. 4 questions. I will read one by one.
Yes.
I do not feel in-breath and out-breath at the same place. During the in-breath, I note it as a flow of air along the nasal pathway down to the throat. And out-breath is felt at the tip of the nose. Should I try to see them all in one place?
Could you repeat that question?
Okay.
Yeah.
I do not feel in-breath and out-breath
You have to use
at
the
the same place. During the in-breath, I note it as a flow of air along the nasal pathway down to the throat. And out-breath is felt at the tip of the nose. Should I try to see them all in one place?
Yeah, that's one little principle in meditation, particularly in the breath meditation. You are not following. You are not supposed to follow the breath inside the once it is going inside. Say, for example, when you are breathing in. So, if you are following the breath, then only you will get into the nasal duct and all these the whole. I don't know what are the technical terms. So biological terms are there. So you are going to the lungs and all these things. So we are not supposed to go in that path. Rather, we are to maintain our attention at the nostril area. So it's very much like Buddha has mentioned. This mindfulness is like a gatekeeper. So gatekeeper's duty is at the gate. He is not there to follow the visitors. And when the people are going out, he is not supposed to follow them and go out. Rather, he has to maintain his duty at the gate. Similarly, so you have to maintain your attention at the nostril or the upper lip in that particular area, and you simply have to wait there. So while being there, probably you now feel the in-breath. So it may be a very subtle feeling, some very subtle sensation of in-breath. So you are now feeling it. And now it is passing that particular place where you are, and now it has gone, and you have felt the beginning, the middle, and the end. Now it has gone, but you have to stay here. You are not following them. You are not following the breath. Rather, you are staying at this particular place. After a while, the out-breath happens. Then at the beginning of the out-breath, the middle, and the end, and then out-breath also has gone, but still you are maintaining your attention at here. So this is one of the basic policy or principle you need to follow. One rule of thumb you need to follow, where you are keeping your attention at the nostril, because then only the concentration develops. So at the very beginning, you need to concentrate your mind. Assume that the mind energy is scattered here and there in a disorganized manner, and these exercises actually help us to bring our attention to a particular area, so that the mind energy becomes concentrated. So this is the key here. So you are not supposed to follow any other place. Simply maintain your attention at the nostril and wait till you feel the breath. And when it is feeling, you can understand, okay, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end, or this is the in-breath, or this is the out-breath. Or in-breath happens in this left nostril, or out-breath happens in right nostril, something like that. All these differences you can feel when you are maintaining your attention at the nostril. Yeah.
I note that my eyes also keep following on what's happening. Sometimes it's a strain on the eyes. How can I overcome it, Venerable Bhante?
Yeah. Basically assume that you are keeping your eyes open. Just for example, you are keeping your eyes open in a very comfortable distance before you close your eyes. So if you and when you open your eyes, if you are trying to look at your nostril, then it develops kind of a strain. So it is difficult actually to look at your nostril from eyes. Is a kind of a strainful action. So instead of that, so you simply look at somewhere here. Say for me, it's very comfortable for me to look at maybe about 5 feet ahead. And while my eyes are like that, at that particular position, now I am closing my eyes. Now the retina is actually, retina or whatever, I don't know, this is being focused to some 5-6 foot ahead. And now my eyes are closed. Now I feel comfortable. I am not supposed to look at the breath through my eyes. Instead, you are feeling your breath. So, say for example, now I am keeping my hand on my leg, so I feel that weight of my hand. So you don't need to look at the hand, do you? You don't need. You don't need to look at the hand in order to feel that there's a weight of the right hand on my knee. Something like that. So you don't need to look at the breath, or you don't need to look at the nostril through your eyes in order to feel it. You are simply looking at in a very comfortable distance, and your eyes are now closed. That is where the eyes being located to a particular distance, but eyes are now closed. But you feel, okay, now the in-breath happens. You feel now the out-breath happens. So you have to give prominence to this feeling, maybe even perception, particularly about the feeling, and not you are looking at breath. So if you are looking at breath, definitely you get strained out. So you have to change the habit. So you will understand these techniques slowly. At the beginning we do all these mistakes. I mean, sometimes we breathe forcefully, sometimes we look at breath through our eyes. All these are little mistakes we do in the beginning. But later we can correct them, and we come to the kind of a most comfortable and kind of an equilibrium where you can continue your meditation in a comfortable manner.
In meditation instructions, it says, you must observe the in-breath and the out-breath in totality, from the beginning through the middle to the end. Observe the difference between one in-breath to the next and one out-breath to the next. Would be grateful if you could explain this part, Bhante.
Yeah, actually, this is very much like the third step. So Buddha starts in a very simple terms telling Satova asasati, sato pasasati. Simply you are aware now the in-breath happens. Simply aware, okay, now the out-breath happens. It's very simple. You don't need to go to the middle, the beginning, middle, end at the very early stages. Because in order to recognize the beginning, the middle and the end, you need fair amount of developed mindfulness. So don't worry about that detail at the beginning. At the beginning, only just aware, okay, right now, in-breath happens. Right now, out-breath happens. You don't know whether you are paying your attention to the middle or to the end or something like that, but you are very 100% sure, now the in-breath happens. Now the out-breath happens. So likewise, you simply maintain that. So the problem is, even when you are aware that now the in-breath happens, your mind gets distracted. Again, you have to bring your attention back to the breath. Again, in-breath happens or out-breath happens. Again, your mind gets distracted. Again, you have to bring your mind back to the position. So this kind of a struggle is there in the beginning. So therefore, it's very difficult for you to understand all these subtle details of the breath in the first stages. But later, you are developing the skill. So later, your mind starts to stay with the breath. More and more, now you can recognize, okay, now it's the in-breath, now it's the out-breath. Now it is the in-breath, now it is the out-breath. For, say, 20, 30 breaths, consecutive breaths, there is less distractions now. Now you are gathering the momentum. Now you are gathering the mindfulness. So this is how it happens. So this is how the momentum develops, where your attention improves, your mindfulness improves, and slowly then you can recognize, okay, in-breath is very much, say, cold when compared to the out-breath. Out-breath may be little hot in that sense. On the other hand, okay, in-breath happens in one particular nostril, out-breath happens in another nostril. So these are differences. And sometimes in-breath is longer, out-breath is shorter. In-breath you can feel easily, out-breath may be difficult to feel. Something like that. So these little differences you start to understand. So that indicates your mindfulness improves. You are now closely looking at in-breath and out-breath. You are able to recognize these subtle differences. And further you develop, and now you can even understand the consecutive in-breaths are not similar. At the beginning you recognize, okay, in-breath and out-breath are different. They have differences. But later you can even understand even two in-breaths are not similar. Even two out-breaths are not similar. So this distinction is very subtle. So that indicates your mindfulness has fairly improved. There you will recognize, okay, this particular in-breath is longer when compared with the previous in-breath. This particular in-breath is shorter when compared to the previous in-breath. So likewise, when this particular out-breath is longer, this particular out-breath is shorter. So likewise, you will be able to understand these subtle differences of consecutive in-breaths, consecutive out-breaths. Then only you are supposed to look at, this is the beginning of the in-breath, this is the middle of the in-breath, this is the end of the in-breath. So that's why I said it's the third stage. So Buddha has mentioned this this technique, this method in a stepwise manner, progressive manner. So when we are talking about looking at the complete picture of in-breath and out-breath, the beginning, the middle and the end, that is the complete picture. So we are talking of the third stage. But before that, there are several other stages you have to come across. And more you understand those stages, so achieving this third stage is possible. Yes.
In a file in the Dhanashala, one saying is, if you want to be free from suffering and fear of death, you have to be mindful of death with every in-breath and out-breath. Does it apply when doing breath meditation too? Pin Sidueva, Venerable Bhante.
So try it before you die. So you can't develop that skill when you are close to death, because the doctor come and put your oxygen mask. So it's very distracting because it's making a lot of noise and all these things. So try without oxygen mask. So that's what we are trying to do in Kalalgoda. So we are not closer to death, we suppose. We have a lot of time to practice. So likewise, we are having some positive energy and kind of a attitude where I am now comfortable, I am now healthy. So, but still, the healthy state is the one that we need to practice. There's a very good saying, prevention is better than cure, something like that. So try your best to practice before the problem happens. So when the problem happens, then you are ready. So you have some developed skills. Through that skills, you can face the problem. But before the problem happens, you have to develop. So therefore, try your best to do this breath meditation, and actually what you are mentioning is true. So Buddha has mentioned in one of the suttas, I think it is Rahulovada Sutta. There are several Rahulovada suttas, Sambalattika Rahulovada, Maha Rahulovada likewise. So in one such sutta, Buddha has mentioned, when one is well established in mindfulness in breathing, so even the last breath happens mindfully, not unmindful. Even the last breath can happen mindfully. So you are fully aware, okay, this is the last breath, now it is happening. And after that, this body will pass away. So likewise. So you are in a very, not in an agitated state. So for you to understand, okay, this is the last breath, what a kind of a composed mind you need to have. You are not afraid, your mind is not scattered, and you are very mindful, okay, this is the last breath happening. After that, no more. So kind of very, very, very deeper state in that sense. So you can't achieve such state immediately. You need to have a fair amount of practice in order to reach that stage. If one practice continuously the Anapanasati, say fair amount of time, and particularly the Vipassana stages, then you are getting that equanimity in the mind. So you become stronger. That means spiritually stronger, so you can face the death. At that time you may be aware, okay, this is the last breath happening, and after that no more. Actually I can remember one, I think Venerable Jnanaponika, in his book, so there's a beautiful passage talking that there's one nun used to offer him some soup or something every day, and one day when she offered that soup, so Venerable Jnanaponika has mentioned, you don't need to offer me soup again. So he know that he will pass away during this particular day and no more in tomorrow, something like that. So he's very aware that he's going to die. Okay, we go to the other one.
Venerable Bhante, I noted the in-breath as in when I started the meditation and the out-breath as out. I noticed that the in-breath entering from the right nostril with a consistent flow of cool air, and the out-breath also left through the right nostril, but the flow fluctuated. There were times the in-breath shifted from one nostril to the other during the same sitting, and the out-breath also shifted to the same nostril as the in. I clearly was able to notice the in and out breaths, but the attention span was very short. I started counting each cycle, and the most I counted was 20. Thoughts rushed into my mind that took the focus away, but I managed to label the thoughts and return back to the focus at various intervals. I then tried to keep a mental note of the length of my attention to see if I was improving, but I found it hard to do so. My spine, legs, and shoulders start to ache after a while, which forced me to adjust the posture. There is a sharp pain from the mid-back to lower back and have the tendency to fall asleep, though I quickly wake up and restart the meditation. This is my report.
Yeah, I think one thing that when your breath calms down, you basically have to reduce your effort. So what I am trying to tell is, now if you are fueling your vehicle too much in your lower gear, then you can't drive fast. When the machine, when the car or whatever the vehicle has its own momentum, it's driving fast, you have to come to a higher gear, then only you can drive fast. Similarly, the effort has to be reduced when the mind is ready to concentrate. So if you are maintaining too much energy, too much effort, then your mind can't concentrate. So this is a disadvantage. So therefore, what I understand is, now you are constantly counting your breaths. Counting your breaths may be possible or valid only at the early stages, where your mind got to distract too much. So you are using this counting technique in order to bring your attention to the breath. But once the mindfulness catching up, when the mindfulness has grown, you have to discard this labeling. You have to discard all these counting techniques. And you have to calm down the mind. So you have to fully with the breath, with a very quiet mind. Counting takes a lot of energy. Counting is something that you have to think. Okay, I was counting, say, 20 previously. Now, okay, this breath becomes 21st. Next one is 22nd. So you are spending fair amount of your mental energy for this counting. But when your mind focusing, when the mind gathers its energy, so you have to even use this counting energy to this particular process. Therefore, discard counting and come back to the present moment, come back to the breath, and then your energy is saved and your mind start to concentrate. So I think that is the place you got wrong. So because if you are exerting too much energy, your mind get distracted. That's another thing happen. At the beginning, effort is essential, otherwise your mind distracted. But when mind collected, when mind is ready to concentrate, if you are putting too much energy, mind distract. The same energy operating in a different levels. So you need to understand this, and then accordingly you have to stop counting and stop labeling. Instead, just be with the breath. Be with, okay, this is the in-breath, this is the out-breath. So you are fully aware of that. With a very quiet mind, very focused mind. And your attention is very gentle, not kind of a rigid. You are looking at it in a very gentle manner and with a very soft tone instead of in a very rigid manner. Then your mind starts to concentrate. Yeah.
I have been meditating since 4 months. I do belly meditation. While doing sitting meditation, I often get a severe pain in my left hand. Generally, I keep sitting for an hour. With the pain, what am I supposed to do? Further, I can't sit on the floor. I do it in a chair. Will it be an issue to improve my meditation? Since I am a beginner, I would like to clarify it. Kindly advise me, Swami.
Yeah, actually, when you are doing belly meditation, there is no specific posture as such. But it's best to do in sitting with a straight posture at the beginning. But later you can even practice while standing and while lying down. That is also possible. But when you are beginning, probably in a sitting posture and with a straight back, you can start. And there also you need to maintain your attention at the belly, and in a particular say in this particular plane, and then as you are breathing in, your belly comes forward or abdomen comes forward, and you can utilize this what you call rising. So you can use a term. You are like murmuring mentally, kind of verbalizing internally, so that your perception or your feeling, now this is the rising, this is the falling, this is the rising, this is the falling. So your experience being seconded by your mental labeling. So this actually helps. So you have experience, okay, now this is the rising cycle. Now you are very sure about it, and so you are labeling it, okay, this is rising. And then it happens the falling. So you are seconding it, okay, this is falling. Rising, falling. Rising, falling. So you are experiencing as well as you are seconding that experience mentally by labeling. So if you are doing this properly, then your mind starts to collect. And it also changes. I mean, you need to maintain some kind of an open attitude. So this whole process can change. Sometimes this, say, very similar to Anapanasati, where, say for example, rising becomes longer, falling becomes shorter, rising becomes very evident, but falling becomes difficult to understand or difficult to feel. So such differences can happen. And you can even feel, okay, this rising is not a single rising. It may be a collection of different or collection of risings. Maybe 10 risings, little risings, collectively called as a one single rising, something like that. So the rising can become divided into pieces. So likewise, different experiences can happen. So, and again, as a beginner, you need to expect, okay, maybe several pains and all this discomfort can happen because you are not used to this meditation yet. So as you are continuing, you can stay longer. So if you can maintain, say 15 minutes, good. Then you can simply change your posture a little bit and further continue another 15 minutes. Again change your posture and continue another 15 minutes. Like that you have to accumulate. Later, you can maintain the same posture maybe about 20 minutes, maybe about 30 minutes. Like that, likewise this period going to longer as you meditate, as you practice.
Venerable Bhante, in Paryanka Bhavana, when I focus on my breathing, after some time, my hands begin to move from the place where I kept them initially. Please advise me, what should I do? Do I have to take them back or let them fall apart and keep watching what is going to happen next? Thero Saranai.
So I think you better pay your attention to the breath. If you are doing Anapanasati, so your hands can little move and all these things can happen, and even your face can look at the other directions, and these differences can happen. And even though you are starting your posture with a straight back, so even that can little change. So these subtle small differences can happen, and we are not supposed to immediately change our posture and come back to the kind of a perfect posture. It is not necessary. If your hands are little moving up or changing your little positions, that's fine. Yeah.
Venerable Bhante, walking meditation. I feel very relaxed. I feel movements of the feet when I was walking over different surfaces, roughness of the coir mats, smoothness and the coolness of the clay tiles, rough and smooth surfaces of the sand, almost all the time mindful walking. But sitting meditation, while I am concentrating on breathing, sometimes my mind goes but cannot recollect what happened. So I am not sure why and what I should do.
No, this is very typical. Because sitting is more into the concentration side, and more your mind get a little calmed down, you come to this kind of a dizzy kind of a state. Yeah, it's almost sleep but not sleep, something in between. But this will improve rather than you get into more drowsy or state. Rather, your mind starts to be alert. So this alertness, this attentiveness slowly improve. You simply continue your practice, and as you practice more and more, so this kind of vague area will disappear. Rather, you start to be very attentive, well alert, even in sitting. Nothing to worry. Yeah.
There are two parts in this. Dear Bhante, please explain the difference between the Anapanasatiya and Sushka Vipassana.
Yeah, actually Anapanasatiya and Sushka Vipassana are entirely two different things. Anapanasati, the breath meditation, breath meditation has two parts where you are it is capable of developing tranquility or concentration part, and later you can turn it to Vipassana part as well. So it actually naturally evolves. You don't need to do much to change into Vipassana, but naturally it get evolved. So Anapanasati in that sense has the both skills, both facilities available for a yogi to develop concentration as well as the wisdom. On the other hand, there's a technique called Sushka Vipassana, where you are, without spending time in developing concentration, you are trying to immediately get into the Vipassana track. But it's very difficult. So in such situation, you need to use this labeling constantly. Constantly you are supposed to do the labeling. Say for example, I'll just giving an example. Okay, I'm looking, touching, lifting, reading, moving, keeping. So likewise, you have to use this labeling constantly. So there is no time for you to distract. So rather, you are constantly using this labeling technique to occupy the mind with the present moment. So in a way, it's a bit difficult. It's very dry in that sense. That's why Shushka Vipassana, dry Vipassana. So, but we as Sri Lankans, we have a lot of techniques available. You can develop a fair amount of concentration using Buddhanusati, using Metta, and using Anapanasati itself, using this rising and falling itself. So all these techniques are helping you to develop a fair amount of concentration. And you can effectively use labeling as well. And later, once the concentration develops, you can get rid of labeling and you can come to a very calm state of mind. So therefore, you don't need to rigidly say, okay, I'm a Shushka Vipassana guy, I'm not hating Samatha. Not necessary. Buddha has mentioned both techniques. We can get the benefit from both techniques. Yeah.
Please explain the difference between mindfulness and samadhi. May you attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very life. Thero and Sarana.
Yeah, mindfulness, typically the Pali term for that mindfulness is the sati, where you are keeping aware. You can't have a very rigid definition for mindfulness, because mindfulness itself evolves. So the beginning we have what we call a momentary mindfulness, or bare attention, where your mind assume, say you are living in the past. Typically we are living in the past or living in the future. So that is the nature of ourselves. So the bare attention help us to bring your attention to something happening in the present moment. Say your breathing happens. Breathing always happens in the present moment. So you are bringing your attention to this breathing. But it's very momentary, but again mind distracts to the past or to the future. Again you are bringing your attention to breathing. So likewise you do this voluntary activity where volitionally you are bringing your attention again and again. So momentarily now you are gathering, okay, now the in-breath, now the out-breath, now the in-breath. Likewise you are able to recognize the present action. Slowly your mindfulness improves. So later what happens is your mind starts to stay longer in this present action. Breathing is the area or the activity currently happening. Now your mind's attention also on breathing, not something else, not in the past, not in the future, but in breathing. Okay, now the present, now the in-breath, now the out-breath, now the in-breath, now the out-breath. Likewise, step by step, now you are very much alive, very much living in the present moment. You are fully aware this is the in-breath, this is the out-breath, this is the in-breath, likewise. Assume you are capable of doing that for 200 breaths. 200 consecutive breaths. You are not missing anything. Constantly your attention is very beautifully, okay, breath happens. You are fully awake, fully well alert. And this in-breath, okay, this is out-breath, this is in-breath, this is out-breath. So if you are going to do that, you don't need to do it, mind does it. So mind gets the momentum and mind does it by itself. Mind does not want to go out now. Mind understood that being in the present moment, being with the breath is very good action. So jolly good than going to outside. At the previous times, it doesn't like to stay. It's a very boring. You feel drowsy. You fall asleep, and all these things. You feel say a lot of aches in the body, and all these many difficulties are there. But when you are developing, breath becomes very beautiful, and it generates a lot of happiness, joy, and even the body becomes very lighter. And you start to enjoy it. Now these are the kind of symptoms of samadhi, where you are now understanding, okay, now mind itself is staying in the breath. I don't need to do much. Now mind understood the beauty of it. Mind understood the peace of this process, this practice. Now the thing to do is less, rather you are simply enjoying. Now the mindfulness has developed, and it is leading now to concentration, to the samadhi, where you have developed fair amount of mindfulness. As a result, now the mind itself is staying with the breath again and again. You don't need to do much. Seldom it may go out, again you need to bring back. Even if it go out, it may not stay longer, it will come back itself immediately, and it likes to stay with the breath. And later, it's fully in the breath, fully in the in-breath, fully in the out-breath, and you don't even to label it. It's very comfortable. You are very much with the breath. So samadhi has different stages. So at this stage, we can say it's a kind of a learning stage to be with the breath. It's kind of a parikamma samadhi. And if you are able to maintain this, further the concentration develops, and the defilements or what you call the hindrances calm down, and now you are fully with the breath, very satisfying, very good contentment is there. The body become lighter, and you are enjoying. Now the concentration is available, and we can say it's a kind of a neighborhood samadhi, neighborhood concentration. So different levels of concentrations are there. So mindfulness is a lead into concentration. So this is, therefore, mindfulness becomes a prerequisite for your concentration to develop. So therefore distinctions are there. That's all, no? So that's all the questions we got. And if you have any other question, you can raise it, or you can have a little rest and continue to practice. It's fairly hot again in Kalalgoda, isn't it? You can't get rid of that. You got to bear it. Actually, the organizers are trying their best to get the best out of that. We have, I think, this, foil is there, and the wind turbines are there, fans are there, but still pretty hot. Can't help. So from your side, you have to develop patience. That is the supreme austerity. So we are giving that opportunity also, free of charge. Okay, if there is no any other question, so we will wind up this question and answer session. So we'll start the Dhamma sermon around 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much for participation.